Hey, this is Heel. I am at a Hack for Kids event, and we have a classroom full of students, tyros, with their pones, chaperones, and we're going to go through a HackerBox Byte Size 0003, or Box 0003, so it's 3 zeros and a 3, it's kind of hard to say, walkthrough. And that means we're going to open up the box, we're going to show you the contents inside, and then we're going to show you how to use them. The folks at HackerBox put one of these together every single month. They are fantastic at doing this. You could get a subscription and have one show up at your door, whether you ask for it or not. That is a part of the subscription, but you can cancel it anytime. So even if you're like, hey, I'm kind of done with this, or I'm going on vacation, or whatever reason, you could then say, I'm going to take a break, or just go and buy one ad hoc as you need it. So here we have some tyros with me, so you might hear them say something. I kind of asked them to play along a little bit, but I'm sure somebody is going to say something that's just going to be a little outrageous because everybody likes to be heard and be a little silly. Now, this box name is Blinky, and we're going to open up the box. You guys can open this up with me, and as we open up the box, we can see inside. And by the way, your booklet will be on the bottom. Mine actually was on top because I was using it. But we're going to go through each item. You're not going to miss a beat. Now, first, what the heck is this? The first thing I looked at it, I go, okay, it's got a USB port. That's not a big deal. Everybody knows what this is. What is this? I was a little stumped when I first saw it, and I thought, is it some kind of like IR detector, a wand? And then I just said, you know what? Focus for a moment here, Daniel-san. And guess what it is? I will show you. Instead of telling you, I will show you, but I cannot show you unless we plug it in. So let's give it a little power. And let there be light. This is cool. And it can also be a little wand like this. What is really cool about this, and you're like, well, it's a light, man, so what? Who cares? What's cool is sometimes when you are working on things, or if you are in the data center and you need a little light and you don't have your phone, or you got a USB cable and you can plug in, you can get a little bit of light in a dark place, and it can go a long way and save your bacon. Plus, also, if you're working on any of these projects or you want to do streaming on your own at home, you could put it on a stand and you got a nice little overhead light to kind of see things a little better. So I'm going to leave this guy here. I'm not going to keep blinding you, but as we need it, I will then go back to it and show you what I'm doing, so this way you can see it more clearly, because the camera is a little kind of further away from the mat. And I like the mat. Guys, the mat's good. You don't need the mat, the anti-static mat. You've seen them in our soldering village, but it's great contrast if you want to do anything with the camera. All right, that's a flashlight. This is the book. So this book here takes you through what we're going to go through in greater detail. I don't like reading this to you because I know you know how to read, but I will take it to another level and explain it a little further. And if you guys here have questions, feel free. Let me know. Speak up, because that's what we're here today live. So on this picture here, this box again is called Blinky. We have all these items that are in this kit, and you can see everything in one spot. And this one has like a red light, but I actually prefer green or blue, so I'm glad I don't have red. QR codes. We always talk about QR codes. There's some risk with QR codes. Specifically, it could be malware. If you use like a phone that's like an Android that's rooted and you decide to scan that QR code, you might actually be downloading malware to your device. Sometimes happens with Apple devices. Most of the time, they're just trying to steal your identity or mess with you or do something like that. But this one's safe. You could scan it. And this one actually, I think, takes you to their website. Blinky, is the name of the kit. And you can see here in the kit all the items that are included. I know it's a little hard. I don't have a zoom option here. But in this, here's the zoom. Did it? It looks good. It looks okay. Wait, maybe we need some light. No, that didn't work. So we can go like this. And these items are a 555, sorry, let me say that again, a 555 timer chip. Well, what is a 555 timer chip? It is a very commonly used chip to make lights blink. It just pretty much says, hey, electricity, I want you to go a little slower or a little faster based on some variables. And it is this guy. Whoop, let's put it right here. It is this little guy right here. That is our 555 timer chip. It looks like a little bug. And if you look at the little bug, it also has a little notch. Come on, camera, fix it. There you go. There's a little notch right there. That notch is, well, they may have other names for it now, but back in the day when I learned electronics, it's called keying. It's a key. It tells you which direction it should go. And when you look at this and you have it kind of facing you, when you go from left down, every one of those little pieces of metal is a pin number. So pins 1 through 8, right? There's how many pieces of metal sticking out? 8, correct. Starting in the top left, going counterclockwise is 1, 2, 3, 4. Go across to the other side is 5, and then up to 6, 7, and 8. And why is that important? Well, if you ever want to use the chip, you need to know the orientation, and you need to know which pin numbers do what. And I know this chip so well, but I know that pin 1 is always ground, and pin 8 is always power. So when we hook up this to a board, we're going to be hooking those up to ground and power. Now, the great thing that the HackerBoxes people did is they assumed that that may not be something that you're going to cover, and what they like maybe something you want to learn on your own or independently. So what they did is they just showed you the proper way to wire everything, but they didn't identify the pins. So I wanted to kind of include that just to kind of make it a little more geeky, because being geeky is fun. We're on the air. Oh, sorry, my wife wants to take a picture, folks. All right, next item here, we have the micro servo with header. Okay, so that is this guy right here. This guy is a little blue Chinese-made. The model is TS90A. TS90A. You can take it out. And what's cool is when you give this servo motor some power, it could turn. And one of the other devices in here that we're going to get to is called the Potentiometer. So it has basically a dial, kind of like on a radio or a boombox or whatever you may have. And you turn the dial, and it changes the value of this. It changes the resistance, which then also affects the motor. And it can also affect lights, and it works with the timing chip. So this is a pretty cool kit, even if you're like, well, you know, it's this and that, but so what? But what you can do with it is what's really cool, and we're going to get to that soon. Just want to introduce the parts. Inside of your bag with your servo motor is another little bag, and that little bag has the headers, and the headers are like your propellers, so to speak. Now, the thing about the servo motor is it doesn't spin 360, it spins 180 degrees back and forth. So you could say it like oscillates like this. Now, the header, if you wanted to actually build a robot that had 4 legs and walked, and you would have 4 of these servos, you would attach whatever the legs are to these headers so that they would be forced to move like this. Which would be, this is a good, very good servo motor for something to walk. Now, one little thing that I noticed when I was actually examining this kit is we were short a screwdriver. That was the pregnant pause for effect. A screwdriver. So I'm going to pass the screwdriver around. Now, one thing before you actually screw it together, let me show you the proper orientation. What happened is when I first used these things years and years ago, because at a Hack for Kids we did something with these servo motors and Raspberry Pis and Python and all that other fun, cool stuff, is it's very easy to make the mistake of putting it on incorrectly. So if you see that this is the top of your servo, it has little ridges, right? We want those ridges to never wear out. And we use those ridges to turn the header. So the one mistake I'm talking about is people take the header. You can see there's like a little top that sticks up and then a part that's flat. They always seem to put the flat part on top. And if you screw it in, it doesn't turn because those ridges are not being used. So you want to first flip it over, put the little ridges or teeth or however you want to call it. Yep, somebody said teeth, which is a great word for it. And now it's in there. And now one thing you never want to do is force your servo to spin, because there's little gears inside, and if you force the motor to work over time, they wear out. The teeth on the gears will get smooth, they'll slip, and now your motor doesn't work. But that's okay, because you could buy this from China on Amazon for $2. Very cheap. And then you'll just take one of the little screws. There's like 3 screws here, right? You see them there? They're rolling around. Let me get this guy out of the way. We got one that's really long and pointy. Another one that looks just like it. I got a magnetic screwdriver here. Sorry, guys. Get. And then you got this little guy. This little guy is the one you want. You put it in there, turn it a couple of times. Best is to hold your header while you screw, because if you are not holding your header and you're holding the motor by the body and you turn too much and you put too much torque, you're going to force it to move. Well, when I just said it's not a good idea to do that. The other thing I've noticed is some people over tighten because they're just so used to kind of making things secure. You kind of want to tighten it until it's like kind of like stops going and then turn like a quarter turn back. All right, I'm going to pass this over to you. And then as you're done, please pass it around the room. That quarter turn back is important because if it's too tight and there's too much torque and pressure on that, the teeth on the top of the header, it's not going to turn very well. It's just going to be kind of like stiff. So just a little loose and it's good. So we got this guy here. This is a fun one. And we'll just put him up here. We got a whole bunch of parts in this box. I'm going to go through this really quickly. I'm kind of going off script. Wait, let's see here. Solderless breadboard. All right, we'll just stay on script. Solderless breadboard. All right, this is one of these things. Some people call breadboard. I call them breadboard. These are awesome for prototyping. So your badge that you got today at Hack for Kids, Faraday and I, we prototyped on a board just like this before we said, hey, let's go turn this into a real badge, because we wanted to figure out what components work best. And that way it's just a lot easier because you just pull them out and put the new one in. Now, when you look at this, you feel, I'm going to rip this off. It actually slides right off. So you could kind of save it and keep it in good shape. The other side, you turn it over, you got a little adhesive. We're not going to remove that. We don't need it. But if you ever build a project and you want this kind of in like a box, like a project box or something, you could peel the adhesive off and stick it in there, because otherwise it's going to move around and your components are going to come loose and fall apart. So you got your breadboard, and I just knocked these guys over. Let's put them over here. You got your breadboard. Now, breadboards, in fact, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to jump ahead. There we go. Did I miss it? Yeah, we go. This is a good page right here. On this page, which is unnumbered, let me move up a little higher. There we go. All right, on this page, we have a breadboard. What's important about the breadboard are the rails. The rails are the parts that go this way, all right, along the bottom of your board and along the top of your board. And if you look closely, hey, quick question. Who's not used a breadboard before? Who knows how to use a breadboard? Okay, good. Doesn't matter. You're here to learn. I just want to know who I'm talking to. Okay, so on the breadboard, you see there's a plus and a minus, right? The plus is red, and the minus is like a bluish green. Well, I think it's blue. Plus is power, forward-moving power. So think of electricity as like water. It's got a fluid motion and current, like air. It's fluid. And then you've got, so it's positive. It's going that way. And then you've got ground or negative, which is kind of like stop, or kind of, I wouldn't say the opposite way, but it kind of completes the circuit, right? Because opposites attract, so positive goes to negative, and that's the way they usually use the notation on here. So you know that you never want to mix up positive and negative or connect positive and negative without some other components sometimes, because it may cause bad results. Do not try at home, because it can create a fire, or worse, depending upon what you're doing it with. But you could take like a 9-volt battery. Have you ever licked a 9-volt battery? Kids nowadays, you don't know how to have fun. Go home and lick a 9-volt battery and report back to me. You're creating a circuit. So you've got the positive and the negative, and you're closing that circuit, and you feel the electricity on your tongue. Are you going to get hurt really bad? No. You licked a 9-volt? No. But your dad did.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Of course I did. I mean, why wouldn't I? Ooh, these kids nowadays, they need to lick more 9-volt batteries. You get a little shock. It's not like a shock that like in the outlet where you're gonna get knocked back. It's more of a little like, ooh, I felt that. I'm gonna do it again. Maybe if you're into that kind of thing. But the 9-volt battery, it's very low amperage, low current, so it doesn't really hurt you. But it's a good way to show you how to close a circuit. All right, and then we're going to go through that. So there's your power rails. These other rails that go this way, you can kind of see them right here. Let me see if we can get a little more light on that. I don't know if that helped. Maybe. These are all connected. So the ones that go down, actually, you know what? I got instead of a big fat sausage finger, I got a nice little pair of tweezers here I can show you. So this line here that goes down, they're all connected. The line over here, they're connected to one another, but they don't connect across, all right? To go that way, you use this, but they go down here. And this little partition doesn't cross either. So you can actually put a component here and here, but also have it interfacing with other parts here and there. And that's what we're going to do with the 555 timer. You're going to see that in action. But I need to explain how a breadboard works so that if your project's not working, you could then look at where you place things versus it's not working. Well, what did we do differently? Because I put this together already. I know it works. Because I made mistakes too. And I'm like, why isn't it working? Oh, I put it in the wrong place. And that's a very common mistake. So we're going to move on from that. I'm going to put these little guys over here. They're so cute. And then the next item it had, going back to that list, power supply. All right. That's this. I might just keep going page by page. All right, maybe that's not that. It's this. This is this guy. So I already cut my bag. It's already got little indents where you can kind of rip it like that. Just kind of rip it if you want. Keep the bag. It's an ESD. It's an anti-static bag. Very good for storing this thing because it's got all these different parts. But, you know, this guy's great. We could take you through this, but the important things to note, it could get power from two sources. It could get one through a regular jack right here. So if you had like a 12-volt jack that you could plug into the wall that's got like a ring and a tip, stick it in there if it's the right size, you got power. Or you could use the USB cable, which came with the kit. So we got a USB cable we can use, and that'll get you power. Thank you, sir. You guys are good too? Awesome. So now, close the door, please. Thanks. So now we're going to need that later, and that little end goes in there. So they had another page in this book where they were describing the different USB sizes. There we go. Right here. All right, we all know what this USB is. That was the first one that I pulled out. And then they have micro USB. You guys are familiar with micro USB? It's a little tiny one that breaks really easily, and it's very frustrating to find another one that just does power, not data, or does data and power, but you only get power. You know what I mean. There's USB-C, which is much more common, and it really doesn't have an up or down position like the other USBs do. And then you've got the mini USB, my favorite because it's such a cute name, mini USB. And we have a mini USB cable connected to a regular USB-A end. And this is also USB-A, but it's a mini. So that'll get your power, and it actually goes like this. It's also keyed, so it only goes in one way. And you want to be careful when you push it in. It's so easy to kind of push up and break the connector. Always make sure you're going straight in. Keep your hands steady, because if it's broken, it's broken. These are not like things that are really faint of heart and easy to fix. Is it fixable? Yeah, of course, but again, not easy. Now, we don't need to have it plugged in right now, but I just wanted you to be familiar with that. What you really want to do is get this guy on your breadboard. Now, you've got 2 rows of 3 pins, so 2 sets of 6. If you look at your power USB, you'll see that one side says GND. Who wants to guess what GND means? Ground. It's like the grounded when you do something wrong and your parents want to punish you. That kind of ground. It's like, oh, man. No, it's the negative on the board. And then there's a plus 5V. Who knows what plus 5V means? Other than that side of the table. Correct. And why is there a plus? It's positive. It's forward voltage. Correct. I knew that's what you meant. I have ESPN. I read your mind. So on the other side, it's actually kind of, well, no, it's the same. It's ground is closer. And then it says VC. That's just the notation for 3.3 volts. So I don't know exactly what VC means. It's one of those things that you kind of like just learn and accept for what it is, and I just completely forgot, and it just means 3.3 volts. So what you want to do is you want to connect your USB power source to the end of your board. All right? It's a good way to do it. But don't put in this guy yet. It's only going to get in your way as we go through stuff. So I'm going to put this guy over here. We got this box of components. And for a minute, let me go back here. Oh, I'll just finish this off. I actually brought another screwdriver. I forgot in case we needed to. Here it goes. You got a little EFF kind of emblem, acrylic kind of sticker. Let me see the exact verbiage here because I know someone's going to call it out that I don't know what the hell it is. An epoxy, that's it, an epoxy dome EFF sticker. Who knows what EFF means? I knew there was going to be an adult raising their hand. Sir, go ahead. The Electronic Frontier Foundation, because, of course, the internet is the wild, wild west, so why not be a frontier? Do you know what they do? Do you work there? No. Oh, but he really is on top of it. What do? They do all sorts of policy work regarding the internet, and privacy and security and things like that. I'm going to put you on the spot. This is a kid's podcast. Can you make it less like you sound like you work at the government? And they protect people's rights. Correct. Because there are sometimes governments, whether it's a state or whether it's a local government or even a company that tries to silence people for things they do on the internet. I think more people need to be silenced on the internet because of the things they say. But sometimes the people saying the right things should not be silenced. And that's what we're all agreeing on. EFF is great. Make a donation. They need the help. It's basically a company filled with lawyers just to try to protect our rights on the internet, because otherwise you'd be paying for every email you send, which is something they fought against as far as I know. But what do I know? I don't know anything. Let's go back to the servo motor really quick. On this page, I'm going to have to do it like this. So you see, come on, hand. So you see on the servo, the little crooked. There you go. You see those little boxy lines going up and down? Those waves determine how that motor is going to turn. There's also a little circle and a line. So if you look at the top one and it's got a short wave, the circle and the line saying your header is going to turn to the left. All right? And then it kind of just stays there. And if you want it to move, you've got to change this waveform. You guys ever hear of an oscilloscope before? Oscilloscope? Bueller? Right. Oscilloscopes are ways to see the way the electricity is moving, right? Because I mentioned before, like if you go look at the Chicago River, the Green River is going to be flowing in the direction that it flows. But when you look at your electronics and these things, you don't know. We can't see it. But an oscilloscope helps us see it. So these little short boxy lines says your header is going to turn left. But as the line gets a little wider, and I'm going to say half width, versus quarter width, the half width sine wave or box line is going to center your header. And then to the right, when you go full wave, right, big on the top, narrow in between, so it's like a longer wave, that means it turns it to the right. So I can tell by your eyes, you're really excited about that. But understanding how this works, when you actually want to use it and write code, you have to tell it how much power it's going to have to make that robotic dog walk. So that's kind of all important. All right, we're going to get to the fun stuff. We're going to build a circuit. That pretty much covered everything that's in there. I'm trying to see which circuit. Let's do this circuit. All right, this circuit's super easy. Before we do it, let's go look inside our little box. So you guys have this box open already because you took out your 555 timer? Sweet. I'm going to put it over there. In your kit, you're going to have, put it here. Maybe you can see it. You see that little guy? It's kind of like a clear poly type LED. What do they call it? They call it a self-flashing LED. So the self-flashing LED has that little timer built into it, and what's really cool is it changes color. 2 LEDs, yeah, green and self-flashing. Yeah, that's what I thought. It was like a different name. Now, mine's bent. You can see it. It's kind of hard. It's probably easier to see it right here. Mine's bent because this part is called polarized. It has this polarity, meaning it cares about which side's positive and which side's negative. Unlike our little friend here, the resistor, doesn't care which side's positive and negative, and you can put it in any direction you want. But if you put this in the wrong direction, the LED, what could possibly happen is you burn it out. If you give it too much power, you get that sweet smell of napalm in the morning. No, it's a burnt resistor. That was from a movie from the 70s, I think, maybe 80s. So you guys go back. When you get a little older, you can watch it. Now, we have a short end and a long end, and that is our cathode and anode. Now, which side do you think is negative? You want to get them bonus points. Oh, hands in the air. Was that a I give up or you got it? All right. Anybody? All right.
I believe that the shorter side is negative and the longer one is positive.
Ding! You are correct, sir. You have points. Now, what I do is I'll take a pair of pliers like these. A little delay there on the video. Take these pliers and I kind of bend them a little bit so it's easier for me to get into my breadboard. I'm happy to share these with you guys. You don't need them, but if you remember, negative is the blue line, positive is the red line. Now, in the booklet, it shows you to just plug them right into the rails, and it's fine. Usually, sometimes people put resistors there, kind of offset some of the current, but with this one, it seems perfectly fine. If you just plug them long end into red, short end into blue, get my sausage fingers in the way, and you should have something that looks like this. There you go. And that. All right. Now, get your USB power. Now, this is going to be tricky. I know some of you have computers, and you're going to need power from a computer unless you brought a USB power bank that takes USB-A. Oh, one of the dads came prepared. Were you a scout? He just travels a lot, and he knows you cannot trust hotels. I love the hotels that nowadays they only have one outlet and the lamp is plugged into it. And like, what era are these people coming from? All right, so I'm going to plug in power here on my USB hub, and then I'm going to go run over here. I'm going to start at 3 volts. So here's a little other pro tip. Start at 3 volts. Because you never know if the component can take it. And if it can't, well, you can up the volts or lower the volts. Well, you don't want to. So we got the LED here. We've got this plugged in. We have a red power indicator light so that we know our USB power port or source is charged. And then, yeah, and you can actually, if you got a wall wart, you can plug in here and use that power too. That's 5 volts coming out. That's perfectly fine. So I'm going to flip it. Nothing.
The LED pot.
Oh. And it was on 3 and you flipped it to 5 and it popped?
Yeah. That's weird.
I'm not getting anything with 3. All right. Did you not have the polarity right? Well, the voltage that would be coming out is 5 volts of your computer. So it would either feed 5 or 3.3, but it's acting really kind of strange. And when I did this, I have that ring connector that I use, like your regular AC kind of connector. So I didn't use USB, and now I'm like really concerned after seeing what happened over there. You could always buy another one of those on some website or even Amazon. But you do have a second LED. So I would say don't plug that one in. Hold off for now. But this guy, I don't know. It wasn't working. So that circuit did not seem to work. But it says set it to 3.3, and yet I did not get anything happen here. Were you on the 5 volt side or the 3.3 volt side?
3.3 side.
And then you switched it to 5, and then you zapped it. All right, I'm not getting anything. I'm afraid to flip the switch too. All right, I'm gonna hold off. Did you got it working? Good. Maybe I killed mine already. Nice job. And that's at 3.3, right? Or 5? How many volts? It should be 3.3. You're on the
3.3.
yeah, you're on the 3.3 side.
Which is the long one, the positive?
Positive. Yeah, I'm not getting anything here. And it's what's even weirder is positive is anode and cathode is negative. And bless you. When I remember learning this stuff, like when I was like 18 in electronics school, I remember writing the cathode with a T and saying, well, that's positive. And the rest of my life, my brain has it backwards because anode has an N, so that must mean negative. That's how I tried, but it was completely wrong, and I just messed all of you up. Sorry. Now you have the same. Now I have the same problem. But what I do is the way I reversed it and psyched myself out is cathode has a plus, but I'm always wrong, so it's negative. It works. Hi, can we help you?
Okay, no, this is not the Saturday workshop, no? Okay.
All right. Let's see what happens with that when they find out it's not happening. All right, so, because I don't know what happened to the instructor. He disappeared. I hope he's okay. All right, so we did the first circuit, which was a very simple blinking LED. Some of us got it, and some of us didn't. Did you get it? You got it? Hang on, you know what I'm going to do? Can you hit the button that says we're on the air? Is it go on? All right, so let them see that so they know not to talk. All right, thanks. We should have done that from the beginning, right? Now, we're going to do the other circuit, which I don't know what's going on with my camera. Everything is like really weird now. But this one actually has a little bit of a schematic, and it's saying that we're going to send 5 volts to an LED, and on the other side of the LED is a resistor, and then ground. This circuit works, but I have learned as a best practice, and I guess, and again, I could be wrong. You okay?
Yep.
Oh, all right. And I could be wrong, but you always put your resistor closer to your power source to lower the power going into your components, because otherwise that component gets all the power and then it drops off. But I'm wondering if on this particular circuit, it doesn't do that for whatever the reasons are. So you could build it just like this. I did. That means you're going to take, well, first I'm going to unplug it. I got a little button here on my USB hub. I can just turn it off. I know which is long and I know which is short. So I know my short one is my, everyone together, my short lead is my negative, and my long lead is my positive. All right, so it looks like that. All right, so we got a short and a long. So there's the negative. We take the negative. Interesting. They got this in. Oh, you know what? I'm going to reverse this. Just so it's easier for reference later. Come on now. Work with me. All right. Why did I do that? Well, over here in this diagram, I just have it upside down. I could probably do it like that. Yeah, I should probably just do it like that, just so it makes sense. So we're going to take this guy. Where'd it go? Oh, there it is. And we're going to take the green LED, and we're going to plug it into the red. So the long side goes into the red, and then I'm going to use my tweezers just so it's easier to see what's going on. And I stick it in any one of these other rails down here, whatever one you want. Doesn't matter. But then you want to get a 1K resistor. Well, how do we know what a 1K resistor looks like? Well, sometimes in hacking, cheating's okay.